I had an epiphany. We're watching The Acolyte all wrong. It was actually my wife had this idea, but marriage, what's mine is yours, all that still counts as my idea. This is Team Owen here. Last week's episode, number 4, was so mind-numbingly boring, I was just having a hard time coming up with jokes. I mean, nothing happens. There's no material there. Episode 3 was the same way. I had to talk about book boyfriends and hot rat men because talking about the actual show was like watching paint dry. So I asked my wife to watch it. I said, don't watch the first 3 episodes, just watch the 4th one. Give me your raw, confused thoughts. That will probably be funny. She said, challenge accepted, and then saw a whole new level to this thing that I did not. First, her actual review of the show is that she literally fell asleep in the middle of the episode.
Boom. Roasted.
But before that happened, she said she realized what the issue here. We're all watching it wrong. It's not even for us. And I don't mean guys. This isn't the whole force is female thing. This show isn't made for anyone over 15 years old. She said the production value, the dialogue, even the general plot reminded her of a Disney tween show. This is Descendants and zombies, minus the singing, plus lightsabers. This is Jedi of Waverly Place. This is just add magic, just add the forge, add the thread. Little cute pocket robot guy, little badger guy, for kids. They said it's supposed to be a mystery show. Okay, it's Casey Undercover. I was gonna call these 2 Millie and Vanilli. No, this is Liv and Maddie.
It feels like a party every day. Hey, just say.
And my goodness, she's right. As we were discussing this, my 10-year-old son overheard and he asked, hey, are you guys talking about that Star Wars show? He watched 2 episodes and he thought it was super fun. Yeah, that's on me. I'll hold that L. I've clearly failed to teach my son what good television should be. I do have my 12-year-old playing Jedi Survivor though, so there's hope for that one. So yeah, after 4 episodes, my 10-year-old had no idea who the Man in Black was. We talked Tuesday before the big reveal. He was kind of torn in his theories between White Mall Mom or just, a random fallen Jedi. He was 100% caught off guard by the reveal. He didn't guess who it obviously was all the way back in episode 2 because this show is made for his age range. The constant exposition, the obvious setups, the paper-thin mystery. This show doesn't actually have a writing problem, guys. It has a marketing problem. It's for tweens. I asked my 14-year-old daughter about it. She thinks Timothée Chalamet is pretty handsome. Younger teenage girls love this boy band look. So in the show, you got Yord being all nervous around Vanilli, but she doesn't even feel like saying goodbye to him. Kids are so innocent. She doesn't even know what a simp is yet. If it is aimed at kids, that should bring up a few questions and red flags, like, what is this show trying to tell your children about morality and how it might be relative? And why does Disney think that children deserve horrible stories with 0 effort? Something that takes 0 effort is you hitting that like button. Do it like the zombies do. The child-centric nature of the show comes into focus when you look at the dialogue. This is stuff that is meant to sound cool even if it's really meaningless. Like this lightsaber teacher at the beginning of episode 4 giving these pieces of advice.
Keep each movement tight, yet subtle. Diminish areas of vulnerability. Maximize your defenses without need to strike.
Excellent advice. You've got the pauses in combat to ask questions. The whole explanation of the thread is just a retread of Yoda's speech about the Force, but it's designed to sound deep and mystical to kids. The silly speech that Darth Dramatic gives to Millie on the beach before he ignites his saber for no reason. This stuff sounds cool and dramatic if you're 10. Episode 4 was easily the most boring half hour of television I have ever sat through. Nothing happens. Millie goes to say goodbye to Padawan X-23, and nobody else, she doesn't care about anybody else, but she gets roped into the rescue mission for Master Chugi anyway. Vanilli and Space and Mendoza go on a long hike, and he plays dumb, which makes him look even more suspicious. Ever since episode 4, there have actually been conversations and predictions surrounding this show. Not excited predictions, mind you. They're just more like, hey, which of these stupid 2 ways do you guys think they're going to do the reveal? Are we going to go with white Darth Maul so we can do a I am your mother line? Or are we going to go with Millie's poison plug, who is clearly acting dumber than he is?
I wasn't a failed DJ. I was pre-successful.
Leslie Headland has trapped herself inside her own mystery box, and this is not the kind of discourse that you want. This is the kind of discourse Amandla should be angry the show is generating. I was gonna try to recreate that dance for you guys, but Newton's laws are a real bugaboo, and while I would be pulling my hips back, my stomach would still be trying to carry momentum forward. It's not pretty. I brushed my teeth in the dark. Oh, there actually was one great bit of writing and human observation when Vanilli renounces her evil master. That was the most accurate thing to happen yet in this show. I've seen a lot of people say, oh, this is terrible. It doesn't make any sense. This character arc switch has zero buildup. You can't just have a character have a total change of heart after training for years and committing multiple murders. But I completely disagree. They did a perfect setup for this payoff. Look at this previous scene. Look how far they have to trek into the forest. Those of you saying, oh, her decision to betray her master makes no sense, have clearly never been hiking. Hiking will make you question every decision you've ever made that has somehow led you to this foliage-laden hell that you find yourself in. The forest is a real-life siren. The initial 100 yards, that's great. You think it's going to be fun. Oh, it's so beautiful. And the sound of the wind in the trees, that siren song. But then, around half a mile, when you're too committed and it's too late, you're reconsidering everything, your whole life. Like, should I even be married to the person that drugged me out here? Do they really want what's best for me? Do they really love me? Should I be friends with this group of psychos that wants to engage in this kind of self-torture? Where did it all go wrong? My skin is crying. What was my mistake that put me on the path to this trail of tears I am now upon?
I immediately regret this decision.
So Millie coming to the conclusion that she doesn't want to be evil anymore if it means hikes like this, honestly, the most sensical thing in the whole show. Meanwhile, Vanilli is walking along with these red shirts when suddenly she can somehow sense life from these tree knots. Don't ask questions, except they are not tree knots. They're like big, like moth, kind of pill bug kind of things. Curtis, how would you describe this thing?
Oh, Superfly.
Yeah, that's kind of a good way to put it. This only happens, by the way, so someone can say that, hey, they're attracted to light. It's a very natural setup. Anyway, this forest is massive, and this little badger fella can sniff out the Wookiee somehow. Don't think about it too hard. And the groups meet at the same time in the same place because plot. You know, the real losers here are the audience members who wanted to see a cool Wookiee Jedi because he's already dead when Vanilli gets there. Probably a better fate, though, than eating or passing the entire bowl of kale that he was preparing at the beginning of the episode.
Brother, what's that?
Okay, so everybody is gathered at the Wookiee hut, same time, same place. Johnny Cash floats down behind them, ignites his saber for dramatic effect, and then force pushes 8 Jedi away, which is a power he definitely won't forget he has in a few minutes, right? Right? Oh, there was also the whole Kiadi Mundi thing, a guy whose name I did not know until last week, and I'm betting most people didn't know either. Don't pretend. I've seen a lot of takes on it. It seems pretty cut and dry from the evidence that it breaks the timeline and canon and causes issues with the prequels, but I honestly think that we're looking too deep into this. I've seen theories that Leslie did it on purpose to make the Jedi look like frauds and liars. I don't think that's it. I don't believe anyone involved thought about this for more than 3 seconds. It wasn't spiteful, guys. It was just straight up lazy. He was only there purely so the audience would go, hey, I recognize that guy. He's from one of the movies. Wow, this really is a Star Wars. That's seriously it. Disney Star Wars doesn't know how to do anything without referencing the original movies. Modern Lucasfilm, MCU Phases 4 and 5 only know how to jangle the shiny keys in front of your face and say, hey, you remember when this stuff was great? Now hold on to that feeling while you watch the new stuff so it feels better. The only thing that makes it seem a little odd and nefarious is that they also showed this familiar looking guy, but the credits don't list him as the same Jedi Master from the prequels. Oh my god, this episode was dreadful. It clocked in at 27 minutes and contained so much padding for time. The writer was immediately given a new job working on the next Assassin's Creed game. You know, when Leslie was in school, I can guarantee you she never wrote but or however in her essays. This woman wrote things like, on the other hand, despite these things, it is critical to point out and consider that we should note key observations notwithstanding previously mentioned issues. One example of such I am increasingly inclined to bring to light. That's what this show is. She was clearly told 30 minutes, and by God, she was gonna get there no matter if it kills us. Anyway, it's not for adults. It all makes sense now, right? Let's move on to episode 5 and the big reveal that will just knock your socks off. This is, you should know, spoiler territory for a show that I know you're biting your nails over. You will likely see a ton of people calling episode 5 the best episode of the season so far. And that is true. You know, of course, that bar is so low that the president would have to avoid tripping over it when he's down in the secret emergency underground bunker, but this episode cleared it. One reason that it's a good episode is because it... No, wait. That's not correct. One reason it's a better episode than the others is because something finally happens. Anything! There is progression of any sort, and it's instantly the best of the season. Something that I noticed while I was watching is that I was loving the lightsaber fights because laser swords, come on. But this is a sad class on how you still have to have things make sense, even if it's a space fantasy. If you do watch episode 5, you can enjoy it, unlike the others. There's plenty of action, and there's cool moves and actual stakes because characters you know die.
I did not see that coming.
However, you have to turn your brain off, and I don't like that. It's not horrible, but I hate the concept that I have to completely ignore a bunch of the show in order to enjoy the action. This show wants to reference the prequels, and it's making it look worse, especially in terms of comparing to the saber fighting. It seems like there is some grumbling online about these saber battles in the Acolyte. I don't think they were bad, honestly. I mean, there was obviously a lot of cutting and stitching. Sometimes the editing is way too fast, but overall, I liked it. It's laser swords. It didn't hold a candle to the prequels, but, you know, it's still some fun action. This episode is still a 4 out of 10. Let's not get it twisted, but let's look at the cool stuff first. Obviously, I'm talking about Space and Mendoza's arms. That's the power of Manny, right there. That's what they were talking about. His costume probably had sleeves at first, but he removed them, and honestly, I would have as well. That's Darth Mac. Goodness, that's Darth Swole. Darth Yoked. Darth Universe? Nah. Sith have like, you know, they have like eviler names. Darth Shred, you know, like he'll cut you, but he's also cut. I'm gonna keep working on it. Let me know what you come up with. Oh, right, yes, yeah, Space and Mendoza is Darth Yates. That's the big reveal that you definitely didn't predict in episode 2 and wasn't super confirmed in episode 4 when he was tripping over things and bumbling about and got uncomfortable when Millie asked him about the Master. And the fact that he, a Sith, is there at all isn't a huge deal to the characters, and that is a huge writing problem. None of the Jedi present ever react like, oh my goodness, our mortal enemies that no one has seen in hundreds of years are here. They're actually alive. You gotta think, at this time in the timeline, the Sith are like Jedi campfire stories. They should be reacting to it the way book characters react to Cthulhu. He's not scary. The fact that he exists is scary. That's what cosmic horror is about. And these morons are just like, oh, it's him. Rush. See what happens when you rush B? I still think there's another one over him. There's still time for white-horned Mama Witch to be the master, which would make Darth Hench the blaster, I guess. No. I'm sorry. No, I was doing a different bit. That's my bad. He didn't see the B-roll that I was using. This is all especially possible since Yord and Vanilli had a super natural conversation about how Darth Diesel got into his head he couldn't fight. And Millie was like, oh, I saw that once when I was a kid. The setups in this show may as well have the mailman pop in.
Message!
Sorry, I started talking about the good stuff, but then that just throws the contrast of the horrific writing into even sharper relief. So the fights had really cool parts. My personal favorite is the force pull double impale beheading combo. That's like the quadruple axle of saber fighting right there. This guy fights so brutally, which is what I would expect from the dark side. Obviously, the saber throw tree cutter is sweet, even if the trees fell the wrong way. Physics isn't really this show's strong suit. The Jeki dual saber fight was so cool looking. Honestly, that's an interesting one because it sums up the entire episode right there. Because there were equal parts stupid and awesome and rule of cool here. The cool is just, dual sabers. I don't give a crap who you are. Picking up another Jedi saber and going double-handed crazy mode is cool looking. The really great part about this is that it was excellent characterization, or, it should have been if Jeki was developed a little more. You can really see how she's mad and going a little crazy here, letting her emotions rule because she's a Padawan. Her face is really selling it. And, we're assuming that a Padawan is not going to be trained in this advanced technique, but her adrenaline is just fueling it. And it kind of makes sense a little bit that she could be pushing Darth Goodplace back. She's really, flailing, and she's angry, and he only has the one saber. But her emotion does get the better of her, so he gets an opening, and it ends how, honestly, it should. I appreciate that they let us know right here, this isn't like other Disney lightsabers. This is real. Should this have lasted even 30 seconds against a guy who just body bagged like 6 Jedi Masters? No, but, that's what I'm saying. You gotta turn your brain off. That's the part you gotta overlook. And it shows the weaknesses in this writing team. The prequels did this really well with Anakin. We saw him fighting early on, right? And then he's getting more powerful. Then he gets cocky with Count Dooku, and he gets a rather shocking realization about what a real master can do. In that same fight, he attempts to do the dual saber bit, but he's unfamiliar with it, so that only lasts for a few seconds. Later on, in the battle on Mustafar, we see his fighting style changing. Even during that fight, he's getting angrier and his movements become more fierce. He's throwing punches, he's choking, he's becoming Vader in the middle of this fight. There is actual characterization in those moves. That's why that fight is incredible. Ahsoka nailed this as well. She's got like a samurai style. Ray Stevenson had, a knight with the great sword style. These fit with each of their characters. That's why it was so good. This fight had potential for that with Jeki, but it lacked the buildup. Also, the only thing I felt when Jeki and Yor die is admiration for whoever said that was okay. It really raised the stakes, so that's points to Disney and the writing team for going there. But did I care about those characters? No, not even a little bit. I was actually pretty happy to see annoying Yord leave. We also have some issues here with established power levels, and again, it makes it hard to fully enjoy these scenes. And it shows how the writers simply do whatever they want from scene to scene. Jeki fighting Vanilli would have been so cool.
And his name is John C.
Except she already went toe-to-toe with Master Trinity, and we haven't seen Jeki do much of anything at this point. Why are they evenly matched? She's Padawan. So it does look cool, but it's really just so Millie can get into the handcuffs. It's just for the plot. Then Jeki fights Master Schwarzenegger, and again, we just established he can yank a guy into his blade, so this fight doesn't fully jive. There were really cool parts, and I tried to just turn my brain off and just enjoy the action and the suspense. And I was able to for a minute or two at a time, but some of these issues are too large to ignore, and it just kept getting pulled back out.
Just when I thought I was in, they pulled me back out.
They tried to create a suspense horror vibe where Millie is running through the forest at night away from Master Ronnie Coleman, but then Master Squid Game just kind of appears, right in the middle of this massive dark forest. You can't ignore that unless you're 10 years old. There's also the plot armor on Darth 50 Cal. It was a constant problem. Taking on 2 Jedi at once and winning makes you look cool, especially if you do it with the panache of Christopher Lee, or if you have a dual saber like Darth Maul and you have one of the coolest moments in Star Wars history. But taking on 6 at once, that just looks dumb, because not all the Jedi can fight at once, so you get terrible choreography, like this guy, who is just standing there. Stab him! Or we have this helmet, which is made of something that I am certain will be explained, but he's only wearing the helmet and the gauntlets. So, try slicing him literally anywhere else. It also protects his whole body from this energy blast. So he's got like a dune shield or something? But no, he backhands and headbutts these two, and they have to start smacking their sabers like an old TV remote until the volume button works again. These two clearly did not take Master Giantsbane's advice. They didn't diminish their areas of vulnerability or increase their defense without the need to strike. Showing your bad guy is powerful is great. It raises the stakes. I love that. Giving your bad guy plot armor until it's time to take it off and he dies to something he has been surviving with ease until that point is stupid. And it makes me care less about your story because the plot will simply do whatever it wants and nothing has to make sense. The character motivations also don't make any sense in this one. I have no idea what good twin Rob wants right now. She was pulled off her mechanic job, she crash landed, she went to visit Master Horrible Makeup, she tried to leave the Jedi Temple, she got pulled into the Force. What is her motivation for anything that she's doing? She's barely a character. And if you think a Starfish character that just lies there while the plot does what it wants is bad, then get a load of evil twin Fab. She wants to be with her sister. Well, then she wants to kill her. Oh no, she has a change of heart on the hike. Only Rob matters. Then she doesn't try to save Rob when the fighting starts with Johnny Cash. Then she tries to make up with Rob. Then she knocks her out and leaves her for dead while she goes full single white female, giving herself a lightsaber Mulan bob and taking Rob's clothes like Agent 47. She's all over the place. And yeah, at the end of the episode, Rob and Fab have switched places. I'm not going to go with Parent Trap. The Acolyte has now become the Princess Switch. Yeah, that's right. The Acolyte has now become model behavior. Deep cuts only here. Overall, the characters and the plot are still just not interesting. But we did finally see some action and plot progression, so after 2 hours of nothing, that makes this the best episode. Does hearing that this episode had some action make you interested, finally? What are your thoughts on the show and the external drama that's been happening, like this diss track? I look forward to hearing your thoughts. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you next time.